When I was around 9 years old, I had a bicycle accident. A cousin and myself, we were walking home from school, and he asked me to ride on the back of my bicycle. And back then, we had the banana boat seat. And he asked to ride on the back, and I was told not to ride anybody on the back of my bicycle, just ride by myself. And since he kept begging and crying and saying he was tired and his feet hurt, I said, okay, come on. When we get closer to home, I will ride you so far, and then you have to get off, so that when we get close to the house, no one would see us riding together, because I didn't want to get in trouble. And so I lived at the end of a dead end street, but to get to that street, you had to go down a steep hill, and we loved this hill. We did all kinds of stunts on this hill. So I told him, okay, get on. We'll go down the hill. Once we get to the bottom, you have to get off, and we'll walk home. So he gets on the back of the bicycle, and we start down the hill. And of course, you don't have to pedal, so we just let our feet fly. And I didn't see the pothole that was in the hill. The front tire of the bicycle hits the pothole, and the back of the bike flips up. It throws us both off of the bicycle. He lands in the neighbor's yard, one of the people's yard, and I go straight up in the air and come down straight on my face and slid down the rest of the hill on my face. I was knocked out. I suffered a concussion. One of the neighbors saw what happened, because she would stand in the doorway waiting on her son to walk home from school, and we played with him all the time. It was back in the day when all the neighborhood kids would get together and play, and so we knew mostly everybody in the neighborhood, especially all the kids. She saw what happened and came running out of her house, and went straight to me. She said that she thought I was dead because I wasn't moving. She realized that I was actually alive, and she knew exactly where I lived. So I remember her picking me up and walking me to my house, and I could hear her saying, please wake up, don't die, don't die, it's going to be okay, wake up, wake up. And I was in and out of consciousness. I could look up and I couldn't see anything. I just kept looking at my clothes thinking I'm in big trouble, because back then we had school clothes and you had play clothes, and those were my school clothes, and I had just totally messed up my school clothes. So I'm thinking, when I get home, I'm going to get it, and then I would be out again. And it seemed like it took forever to make it to the house. I don't remember my feet moving much until we were almost there. And she knocked on the front door, and my mom and my aunt, my cousin's mother, were in the house. I could hear them talking, waiting on us to get home from school. They were both nurses at the local hospital. And my mom comes to the door, and she looks at me and says absolutely nothing. And the neighbor goes into the whole accident and what happened, what she saw. And my cousin comes walking up behind her, and there's nothing wrong with him. I remember turning around looking, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. Your clothes aren't messed up. And I didn't understand why my mom was just looking at me, but she wasn't saying anything. And I kept trying to smooth my clothes down and wipe off the dirt like that was going to make a difference. And I kept looking up, trying to wipe my face, and the neighbor would move my hands every time I would go to wipe my face. She would move my hands, because it was just something was in my eyes and I couldn't see. And I remember looking up and thinking, what is that? What is this that I'm seeing? And I kept trying to wipe at it. Well, it was my forehead. It had swollen. It had swollen to where I could actually see it. It was sticking out about like that. I could actually look up and see my forehead, and my forehead was already big. And my mom just stood there, and I heard my aunt say, Joyce, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she gets up and she comes to the door. She's like, we got to get to the hospital. We got to get to the hospital. And my mom is still just standing there saying nothing. And I'm thinking, oh man, I really messed up. I'm going to be in trouble. My clothes are really messed up. She won't even say anything. So my aunt grabs their purses and she's pushing her out the door. My aunt didn't drive. And my cousin goes, well, I got a busted lip. And my aunt goes, oh, get in the house. And she kind of dips him around the head. Get in the house. There's nothing wrong with you. Go sit down. So they called my cousin who lived around the corner to come and babysit while they took me to the hospital. And they had to make arrangements because mom always picked up my younger brother and sister from the babysitter. And so she was going to be at the hospital. So someone had to call my stepdad at the time and tell him to go get the younger kids. And I just remember, thinking, why do we need to go to the hospital? I had a headache, but that's all that I could feel, was just that I had a really, really bad headache. And I don't remember seeing blood. I know there was blood on me, but I just don't remember seeing blood. And we get in the car, and my aunt is talking a mile a minute, and my mom is driving, and it's a Volkswagen Bug, and she's shifting gears and looking at me in the rearview mirror, and my aunt keeps turning around and talking to me. And by this time I'm starting to get sleepy, and the hospital was a good 20 minutes away. And so I'm trying to lay down, and my aunt is reaching back in the back seat and going, no, 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 you can't lay down, you can't go to sleep, we don't want you to mess up your face. But no one said anything to me about anything being messed up. She just said, no, 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 don't lay down, don't lay down. We get to the hospital, and they worked at this hospital, and they bring me in, and I'm looking at the nurses when I come in, and they're like, oh, hey, we see someone has an accident. But that first initial look of, oh, I didn't miss that. So they take me into a room, and, I'm in there with my mom, and I'm starting to look around now like, okay, what's going on? And the doctor comes in, and he's got this smile on his face. Oh, somebody had an accident, and tell me what happened. And I just told him that the bike flipped and we fell, because that's all I could remember. And my mom starts to tell him exactly what the neighbor told her. And he's looking and touching, and, I'm just laying on the exam table thinking, what's going on? And the doctor and my mom start talking to each other, and I hear him say, we need to clean her face right now. At that point, I didn't know, but I had gravel and dirt and all kinds of stuff in my face. So that meant they had to clean all that out before they could do anything else. Well, that led to them deadening my face. That had to happen first. So they put me in a little papoose thing would strap you down back then. It strapped me to the table, and I see a nurse come in, and she has this long needle, and I immediately just start freaking out. And she goes, oh, no, 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 this is not for you. This is for another patient. And I calm down, because I don't, she doesn't hand it to the doctor or anything. Well, I didn't know that she handed it to my mom secretly. And so, the doctor, they're getting all the stuff they need to clean my face and the brush and everything. And I'm watching the doctor, and as I'm doing that, my mom injects me. Traitor. And I'm glad she did, looking back, because I needed that medication, because the way that they scrubbed my face, there's no way I would have been able to stay put and allow them to do that. I really remember him brushing really hard to get the gravel out of my face. They cleaned me up, and he pretty much says that I have a concussion. Other than that, there's no broken bones or anything else. And he, just tells her, keep my face clean. I would have to soak for at least 30 minutes every day with a hot warm soapy towel on my face, and just stay. I couldn't go outside because it was just an open wound. My forehead was still swollen. My left eye was completely shut, and there was absolutely no skin on my face whatsoever. So think of your worst scrape on your knee, the worst possible scrape you can get on your knee. That's what my face looked like with one eyeball in it. So she's like, okay, and we go home. And by this time, I'm pretty drugged up, and they allow me to lay down. I still can't go to sleep, but I can lay down. So we get home, and the phone is ringing. I remember my mom answering the phone. She would hang up. Someone else would call. She would say something, hang up. And by that time, I'm getting kind of sleepy, and I just rolled over towards the couch, towards the back of the couch, because she kept walking past me, looking at me, just so dumbfounded and sad. And I was just like, I'm turning around so I don't have to look at her looking at me. And my stepdad comes in with my baby brother and sister, and what happened? What's going on? What's going on? And he's a Vietnam vet, Air Force, Vietnam vet, and I hear my baby brother and sister, who just adore me because I'm the big sister, and they come in and they can barely talk. I think they're like 1 and 2, and they come in saying, "Weesa, Weesa," and I turn around to hug them, and they run back towards my mom and start screaming, saying, "Monster, monster." And that just broke my heart, and I started crying. The tears and the salt in the tears was burning my face, so I'm crying, going, "Oof, oof," like that. And my stepdad is like, "Oh, what happened? What happened?" And she tells him everything, and tears just start coming to his face, and he lights a cigarette, and he's pacing back and forth. And he's just, "Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, Jody, what we going to do? Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord." For him to be unnerved like that, I was like, I really must look horrible. Because both of my parents had seen pretty much everything. It took a lot to render my mom speechless. She had seen some of everything. So she still hadn't said anything much to me at this time, other than, "Are you okay? Do you want something to eat? Do you want something to drink?" And I didn't, because I didn't like the look that she was giving me when she looked at me. So after, I talked to my baby brother and sister for a while, they recognized that it was me. They were okay. They wanted to touch my face, and they just kept staring at me. But my mom was like, "No, no, don't touch her face. Don't touch her face." And they, just kind of looked at me in bewilderment. And I still, at this time, hadn't seen my face. So I get up and use the restroom, and our the mirror in the restroom was covered. My mom had put a towel over the mirror. And I used the restroom, and I'm washing my hands, and I really wanted to see what I looked like, because everybody's reaction was so pitiful. Every time they looked at me, it was just like shock and sadness. So I really wanted to see what I looked like, and I pulled the towel away from the mirror, and I saw my face, and I really started crying. I did not recognize who I was. All I could see was this one eye sticking out of a big sore, a big raw sore. I see myself in the mirror, and I start crying. And of course, the tears are stinging my face again, so I start to splash cold water on my face for relief, and get myself together and go back in the living room and sit down with my baby brother and sister. And finally, I just asked my mom, "Can I go lay down now?" Because the medication that they gave me at the hospital was starting to wear off. And I wasn't hungry. I wasn't thirsty. I just wanted to go lay down. I remember thinking, maybe if I wake up, it won't look like this. But it still looked like that when I woke up the next morning. It took me a year to fully recover from that accident. And after that accident, my skin was very bumpy. I had blackheads. Um, scars, of course, from the accident. There's a dark scar under my left eye that when I get really tired, it really shines through. So I don't try to cover that up anymore because that's just a part of who I am now. And that accident led me to start mixing different things because I already had eczema as a child. So imagine a little girl with scars all over her face, itching and scratching like an old dog with fleas, and you're looking at this poor little simple thing like, ooh, bless her heart. That's what we say in the South when somebody really looks pitiful. Is bless her heart, and I got that a lot during that time. Was bless her heart. But one of the memories that really stands out was once the doctor said once my face started to scab over, I could go outside. And so I was just waiting, because we lived for being outside back then. And I was waiting for my face to scab over. And when they finally did, I was so happy because I was like, I can go outside. So I go outside, and my sister was already outside playing with some of our friends. So I'm going outside, try to look for them. And I'm halfway down the porch, and they come riding up on bicycles, and they were like, we ain't playing with you. She's ugly. She's a monster. And they ride off. And my sister is riding with them. So I sit down on the porch and start to cry again. And it stings, but not as bad at this point. And my stepdad comes out. He actually drives up. He was coming home for lunch. And he goes, what's wrong? And I told him what happened. And he said, don't you worry about it, because you are beautiful on the inside. He said, those kids will get fat and ugly, but you'll still be beautiful because you're beautiful on the inside. And what's on the inside will come out on the outside. And he patted me on the head and he went in the house. And that stayed with me throughout my life. That kept me going because he saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself as a little kid. So I tried to keep that thought or those words that he told me in my heart throughout my life, so I could fall back on that because there were times when still today that I did not feel beautiful. I still look in the mirror and see that little girl with the scarred up face and the itchy, rashy skin. So that, like I said before, it really led me to start mixing different things, trying to find some relief from the itching, and also to find a way to combat the scarring on my face. And it didn't matter what it was. I remember just going and buying lotion and mineral oil and baby oil and cocoa butter and all kinds of stuff, just mixing it together, trying to stop itching and stop the scarring, because for everything that happened, I really didn't have a lot of scarring afterward. My mom was very religious with the soaking that I had to do 1 hour out of the day every day. So I did not miss that, not one time, and I think that really helped with my skin bouncing back as quickly as it did. But my skin did suffer from that accident, because shortly thereafter, going into puberty, my skin did not look like my siblings' skin at all. They had very, very pretty skin, smooth skin, and I was the one that had the, like I said, the black heads and pimples and all the stuff that you get. But I really feel like that accident really made it worse, because my skin was never the same after that. It was just never the same, and I was always very insecure about the way my skin looked, and not knowing then that would lead me to mixing in the future, still trying to find relief from my eczema and dryness of my skin. And for, at this time, my children also, who had eczema, So it was just going back into something that I had started as a kid, just going back and mixing different things and trying to find that relief and trying to find those things that would make me feel beautiful about my skin, and not so much as me, but help them and make them feel beautiful about their skin and give them some relief. Because it's one thing if I was going to itch, but I didn't want them to itch, and I didn't want them to have the insecurities about their skin that I did. So anything that I could do to help them not feel like that, I was going to do. And also now, which is why I've made it available, is I don't want another little girl to feel like there's nothing out there for me to help me with my skin, because eczema is not fun, scars are not fun, pimples, blackheads, whiteheads, all that stuff is not fun, and kids are cruel and they make fun of you, and unfortunately a lot of that stays with you even into adulthood, and you have those insecurities. So if I can help as many people as I possibly can feel better about their skin, then that's what I'm going to do, because that's what Cura Bello has done for my girls and myself. It has made us feel better about our skin, and that's what started Cura Bello, was a really bad childhood accident.